All right. All right, Ole. So, like myself, you told me that you're a Long Beach native. You're a Wilson High School graduate. And I was just curious for the younger generations and for the Groms out there, especially the ones I coach, could you kind of walk us through what it was like for you growing up as a surfer in Long Beach and the places you surfed, and kind of tell us that story?
Okay, well, first off, we had pretty heavy boards, and so the equipment really changed a lot since then. I I surfed mostly at Ray Bay, kind of where I learned. And then I graduated to Huntington Beach, eventually the pier, and I was one of the guys that went down to the pier every weekend anyway, every day, and surfed the pier. From then on, I went to Trestles, San Onofre actually, and then moved to Trestles, and we were big shots. Then we go to Trestles,
Yeah.
and
So, how young were you when you first started?
I was 18.
18? And how'd you get into it?
Well, I had some friends in high school that started surfing, and then I liked to body surf, and I always was down at the beach body surfing and things. I saw a guy at Huntington Beach Pier surfing one day, stand up. First time I'd seen that there, anyway, and so I got interested in going down there. And that's how I got started.
Nice. And then you mentioned some of the guys that you looked up to yesterday. One being Hammerhead and Burrhead.
Burrhead, Hammerhead, yeah, they were
so
classic guys.
Could you kind of tell us each of their story and how you met them and kind of the role they played for you?
Yeah, well, they were a lifeguard. Hammer's a lifeguard in Long Beach, and then he used to go down to San Onofre and surf with Burrhead, and there's a group of us down there then, and he was just kind of a guy that's just a real character. He had a truck with a picture of a surfer on the side, and he campered inside like the nowadays camper trucks, He had a little stove in there and double bed, and that was his scene.
Yeah.
And
And what about Burrhead? How did you meet him, and who was
Burrhead
he?
was just kind of came along with Hammer. Burrhead was an engineer at Douglas, and anyway, he was down there at San Onofre too. And those two guys were together, and they got the name Hammerhead and Burrhead for some reason.
Yeah.
And I remember they used to go to USC and they'd take a shower at the gym, park their trucks and take a shower at the gym. That's where they did. And, well, Hammer he always had a keg of beer in his car. He liked to drink beer. He'd come over to the one little bar that we hung out in down in Long Beach, and he'd go in and get one glass of beer and go out, and then the rest of the evening he'd be filling his beer up.
Yeah.
In that way, and we'd go out there and drink some beer from him too. And he was a lifeguard then, and he had a dog named Corky. I know Cork. And I remember one time in the bar, this guy named Johnny Oshesky, which he was a pretty well-known guy. He was throwing firecrackers in the bar, and Hammer, classic thing, he says, "Hey, Johnny, if you're going to throw a cracker, throw a soda cracker," because Corky didn't like it at all. But he was just a real character. He had I don't know, I kind of looked up to him. I liked his lifestyle.
Yeah.
He was pretty loose.
Yeah. Did he kind of take you under his wing?
Well, not really take me over, but he was there, and we all kind of tagged along with him pretty much. Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And then you were mentioning about Roy and Dutch Miller and the Long Beach Lifeguards.
Oh, sure.
Did that have an influence on you as a surfer?
Well, his sons certainly did, because they were part of our little surf team, and Jimmy Montague was he worked at the Maury's Liquor Store down there on 2nd Street, and Buddy Montague is one of my real good friends, and these guys were fantastic volleyball players, and they surfed, and we all kind of hung together a little bit, and I went in the military, got drafted into the Korean War, and Buddy went in a little before me, a little after me, but he didn't get out of there, and he got, it was too bad. But where else were we yesterday? We were talking
that. Let me hold on. Let me get my phone. I have notes in my phone from what we chatted about. So can you talk a little bit? We talked briefly. What boards were you using when you first got into surfing?
Well, I had a redwood board with a redwood deck, 1/2-inch redwood deck, and a balsa wood bottom. And it was really nice. Had stringers in it and everything. Didn't ride good at all because it was a rounded bottom, but no fin.
Yeah.
I finally put a fin on it, and that helped a little bit. But it was just I bought it from a captain of the lifeguards. I mean, of the police department there, and anyway, I bought that board from him, and they sure slid out a lot. You try to make a turn, they slide out on you, but that's what we had, and most everyone rode boards like that. And eventually, we got getting balsa wood boards, and that picked up the surfing. Made it a little more interesting because we could turn them and not lose them every time we did. And they were real straight, real flat, but for San Onofre they worked fine. Trestles was another story, but they worked okay there too. Anything that was too steep though, it was a little bit of a problem.
Did you surf those at all at 72nd Place?
Huh?
Did you surf those boards at all at 72nd Place?
Yeah.
How'd they work at 72nd?
Oh, they worked okay. That used to be, before they put the little extra jetty in there, there used to be just a real shallow area. And then if you had a boat, you had to tack in close to the Long Beach side of the jetty. But we used to surf in that, and waves would come through there, and they'd be just slow rollers, and we'd get in there and surf those. And anyway, we ended up going out to Seal Beach Lifeguards and borrowed some of their paddle boards, kook boxes, hollow. And we'd have to empty them out a couple of times on the way down. We'd paddle them down from the pier. And we'd go out there and ride one wave, and then we'd hear the water rolling down inside of it, and the thing would go right or left or whichever way you did. You didn't have no choice. But that's what we first surfed on.
Nice. And then I was gonna go somewhere with that. Oh yeah. So you grew up surfing on 72nd Place, but can you name some of the other good surf spots in Long Beach and kind of where they were located?
Well, there were some places. I surfed by the Rainbow Pier a couple of times, but not very often. And there was another place called Flood Control. It was down on the other end of town, but I never surfed there. But it was where the LA River came down, and they call it Flood Control. I surfed at the jetty at 72nd. Surfed at, didn't go out much at Surfside. It got really big there, but we never surfed. Not in the early days. We surfed Huntington Pier, pretty much it. And then there was a crew of us down there every day, every morning anyway, and and freezing. No wetsuits, we just cut our pants off a little longer so it wouldn't hurt our knees when we paddled. And we surfed there. We surfed San Onofre, and then kind of went to San Onofre because that was an easier wave to ride.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good cruisy wave. So then you were talking yesterday about how you went into the war, and then you came back and you became a woodshop teacher.
Oh, I came back from Korea, and then I had the GI Bill, so I went to school at Long Beach City College. Then I ended up going to Long Beach State. They just started a program there, industrial arts, so I was going there. And while I was going there, I was living in a lifeguard station. That was pretty nice. The captain let some of the guys stay there because kind of protection for the lifeguard station too.
Yeah.
And I was friends with his sons and everything, so I lived there. There's about 5 guys living in different lifeguard stations. And so where were we going with this now? With you mentioned.
Oh no, you became a teacher.
Oh yeah, I went to Long Beach State, and they opened up the industrial arts department. So I ended up going there, and then became a teacher, and taught in Compton first 4 years in junior high school, and then I went to Garden Grove and taught there in the high school, Rancho Alamitos High School. Taught there about 10 years, and that was great experience. Plus I had summers off,
Yeah.
Long vacations, so it was nice. We'd go down to Mexico and camp out and things like that.
Cool.
Long Beach State. That's pretty much it. I stayed in the lifeguard station and went to Long Beach State.
So then you taught. When did you start shaping? Because you're.
Oh, I was always surfing.
Yeah.
Always making always whittling around doing something like that, making a few boards. And that's about when I started, about when I was in that era. I made a couple redwood boards. And then when we got balsa wood came out, we went down to General Veneer and bought some balsa wood. You go down there and you see all these other guys picking up different pieces of wood and buying it too. Everyone went there and got their wood. And then did that. I got interested in boat building too. I built a couple of sailing outriggers. And actually Phil Edwards and I built a couple of them, and so that was kind of nice. And I was in a wood shop, so I had all the equipment. I could go, make a mast, splice it together, and scarf the joints together and everything like that. And you got the great wood, spruce, and everything, and made these sailing outriggers. And that's pretty much it,
Yeah. Did anyone teach you how to shape, or did you kind of learn from anyone, or
I
just figured it out?
We watched people, Belzy and Hobie, and Gordy was making boards too. He started early, and we kind of checked him out, and I watched them and found out what they were doing, and got myself a planer, and first bought a planer from Sears, but it wasn't any. He didn't like it. I finally went across the street to the hardware store in Long Beach and bought a skill planer. And those are the ones everyone was using back then.
Yeah.
And they still are. Some guys still are. I still have one. Anyway, we were shaping the boards. The first 2 blanks I bought, foam boards, I bought them from my friend Harold Walker. He was pouring foam. And so I went up there and bought a couple of blanks from him, and I had another friend who was going to glass them. So I put them on my car and drove them back to Long Beach, and they blew off the car, broke in half. Gosh, telling me something. And we finally stuck them together because we used to watch Hobie stick them together. They'd break, and they just put them together with resin, stick them against the wall, let them harden up. Then they jump on them again. They break in another spot. So we figured, that's good enough. So we did that. I shaped a couple boards off of that, and they were pretty messed up because of the cracks and everything. But we got them shaped, and then put abstract color on them, and then took them down to Doheny Beach, and lent them out to. I wrote them, and then I lent them out to a couple of guys, and they bought. I ended up 5 orders that day. Because that's when surfing was just starting out. And so I got 5 orders from these guys from Corona del Mar, and so that kind of set it off from then.
Cool. And you're still here today. It's awesome.
Yeah, still doing it.
And then you kind of touched on it just briefly with the skill saw and like the hand shaping aspect of board making, you know, doing it all by hand, pouring the blank, roughing it out by hand, and then fine-tuning it.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the CNC machines, the whole CNC versus
I've tried
hand?
them, and I have a couple of programs that they worked on. They're probably okay, but I did custom surfboards, and so I ended up always wanting to do it myself and adjusting them a little bit more. And so I never got into it. I never was really totally happy either how they came out. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was just me being stubborn, but I always like to do my own thing.
Yeah.
Hands on.
Keep it more of an art than cranking out the same boards over and over again. So let's see here. Growing up, did you know Jock Sutherland at all?
Yeah, what?
Jock Sutherland? Did you know him at all? Did you guys surf together?
My hearing's not very good, sorry.
Jock Sutherland?
Oh, Jock. Oh, yes. Yes, I knew Jock. I spent some time in the North Shore. Traded houses with Jose Angel, who came over to the mainland, and he stayed in my house. I lived in Sunset Beach, and I went to his house. He lived in Sunset Beach. And I knew Jock. I got to know Jock, and Roy Russell, those guys. Oh, yeah. And one of Jock's cousin, Paul Krause, lived right by my shop, and we're still friends today. Yeah.
Nice.
And in fact, he worked at my shop a little bit.
Nice.
But yeah, I knew Jock. Yeah.
And what about Mark Martinson? Because he's
Yeah,
another.
Mark?
He's like the next generation of Long Beach
He was.
guys.
In fact, he used to. I made him boards, and and the guy Sammy Buell brothers, a guy named Tim Dorsey, Corky Carroll. Carroll used to come into our shop, and we'd kick him out because he's always a pesky little guy. but he ended up Martinson and Carroll and these guys from all Seal Beach guys. Yeah, they were. Actually, Martinson was a pretty good surfer, and so was Corky. All those guys were good surfers. We down at Huntington one day, and I know Sammy Buell took off on a wave, and his mother's there, and she said, "Where's Sammy?" I said, "There he goes." He was going through the pier, and he grabbed the rope. There used to be a rope ladder there, and he grabbed and swing back and forth, and his mother was just, "Oh my gosh." Yeah.
That's classic. And so, kind of in the same line, and you mentioned a couple of them. Who are the hot, good surfers from Seal and Long Beach in the 50s?
Well, Corky.
Yeah.
Those guys I mentioned,
Yeah.
Corky and Miguel Rath and Sammy Buell. A guy named Harry Schurz was a pretty good surfer too. And I probably left a few people out, but those guys were all. We ran around a lot together. They were good surfers.
Nice. And then I got a few other questions, just because I'm curious. Growing up so close to Seal, you had a shop, right, in Seal for a little bit?
Yeah, I did.
Right on Ocean. Yeah. And so I was just curious because I've heard story that you taught Rich Harbor, like in wood shop, something like that.
No,
or you
I
taught
didn't
him,
teach
or you
him.
gave him some tips and shaping.
He started
or something
making
like
boards, and we were down to the beach one day. And the only thing about Rich and I, that I made my triangle that I did. I was teaching drafting, so I just did this triangle with a 36-degree angle. Went down there, and there's Harbor. He was the same identical decal, and I go, "Come on, Rich, we got to do something different." So Rich ended up making the one he made, and it was. I always liked his pretty good too, But for a while, I think we were thinking he was copying me or I was copying him. But we're good friends. Yeah. I never taught him how to shape.
Okay. Yeah, I heard that you were like, and this is like third-hand story, but like, oh yeah, Ole like had him in wood shop and like taught him how to shape and do that. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't know if that's true or not.
No.
But so the logos then, they just kind of serendipitously came up at the same time, and it was just like, what a coincidence.
It was one of those, that era.
Interesting.
And my logo's still, I like it because it's still around. It's not, and so is Richard's. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have the regular old thing. We were pretty different as far as logos are concerned.
Yeah. All right, let's see if I... All right, so I would say this is just one thing I've been asking personally for everyone that I interview. For the younger surfers out there, particularly the ones in Long Beach, I guess I have two more questions, but for the kids in Long Beach that are surfing, do you have any words of advice or anything you'd like to pass on to them? Like, this is something I'm probably going to cut out of the larger film I make and make a little edit for the kids on the surf team and be like, all right, here's your elders passing you wisdom. Take notes.
Well, good for those guys. They're lucky. They love surfing. That's a good sport. And it centered it with me, surfing. I just couldn't, all I thought about was surfing. I didn't want to go north of 101 highway. I always was down by the beach. And I always thought about surf. And that's one reason I was a school teacher. I had more time off. And my whole life was built around that thing. And so I think it's good for those guys too. Just follow your heart and go surf.
Yeah.
Have a good time.
Cool. And then the last one. You were kind of around for the construction of the break wall and kind of the stifling of the waves in Long Beach.
The Long Beach break wall?
Yeah. Can you kind of speak about that and maybe your feelings?
That happened right about when World War II was going on. And they used to have a lot of surf in Long Beach. The break wall blocked a lot of it off. And once in a while, some waves, swell would come in a different direction, would go in there, and it'd be good down by Linden Street or the pier, Rainbow Pier. And we used to go down there and body surf all the time, take big dumpers, and that's where I kind of started, right down there in Long Beach. But the break wall slowed that down a lot. But still, we got out there, surfed.
Yeah, I've surfed it myself. It's just not as consistent as it once was.
Yeah.
Sorry, things keep popping into my head. So, another notable surfer from Long Beach would be Jericho.
Oh yeah, Jericho.
Do you have any stories of Jericho? How did you meet her?
Well, she was always around. She went with Bruce Jones a lot, and she was a good surfer, and she still is. And I don't see her very often, but when I did last time, I saw her at Kauai at a little luau they had, and we had a nice talk. And she was just real competitive. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, daughters are too. It's in their blood. Her daughters are too. It's in their blood. Yeah. I coached her youngest daughter Ava on the team, and then I was on the team with Raquel and Sophia.
Oh.
And they were all like, Sophia surfs like a guy, or surfed. Rest in peace. Just so aggressive, and like with her style on a shortboard, and just frothing to win, you know?
Get out of my
And
way. Huh?
I could see, like, her personality transcends through all of them so much. And then Ava was the same way. Like, we'd have a contest, and we'd be on the beach, and she'd be out there, like, cussing out the other girls for, like, out-positioning her and, like, back-paddling, and we're like, shut up, it's a school event, be quiet, you can't be saying that. And then she'd come in, all worked up.
I didn't know that about her.
Yeah, no, they have their mom's genes for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
And her surfing talent. I mean, they're fearless. They charged harder than any women we ever had on our team for the girls. Yeah. Well, thank you, Ole. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Dealing with my long process of setting all this up.
Quite a setup here.
Yeah, it's obnoxious.